Good afternoon. The spring statement announced by Rachel Reeves today contained very little in it, and that was the overriding takeaway from today. There were no tax raising measures at all in the budget, barely mentioned tax, other than a brief mention about tackling tax evasion. However, this is mentioned in every single budget and autumn statement seemingly, and so I'm really not surprised that it was mentioned again today. It will not allay the concerns at all of businesses concerning the impending national insurance increases in April. There's concerns on this in relation to the overall economy, inflation and jobs. The Chancellor today announced spending increases on housing and on defence. In relation to defence, £2.2 billion was promised on additional defence spending. However, as with all of these things, the availability of skilled labour is key, and it was disappointing for me that there was no mention of reform of the apprentice levy and other schemes to get more people into work with skilled labour. In relation to housing, there's mention of a reform of the planning system. But again, the availability of skilled labour, of builders, will take an awful long time, and I suspect that substantive change won't happen until the next government is in. One thing that was not mentioned in today's spring statement was anything to do with an ageing population and the strain that it is providing on our health and our welfare budgets. As the population ages demographically and fewer younger people are going into the workforce, this is a key concern that does need to be addressed. Also of concern is that she has put a lot of her political capital on growth, and growth coming through housing reform. If that does not happen, or if the signs are not looking promising following the introduction of the NI increases in April, one will look forward to the autumn budget with a degree of trepidation as to thinking about what other measures she can take to raise additional cash.
The US leads, the rest of the world follows, and the Chancellor's spring statement reflected what many Americans are feeling. With increased military spending and a fear of higher interest rates, the Chancellor has tightened the purse strings to ensure that we are braced for the changes ahead. Whilst not as radical as the Doge or as brutal as tariffs, it still reflects a tightening of the purse strings. A shaky global economy, an ageing population and increased military spending, but with a refusal to increase borrowing, has backed the government into a corner. With the effect of the autumn statement tax changes yet to be fully felt, and the US and UK economies being so intrinsically linked, we wait to see what the US does next.
So today, Rachel Reeves delivered her spring statement, and as expected, there were no declared tax changes. But we can't forget the huge changes that were announced in the autumn statement and the ongoing consequences of those. What we have seen is a huge amount of people wanting to plan for pre-April changes, but also a lack of clarification from the government about how the new changes will work. And that is despite there being representations from a lot of professional bodies. So we know from April there will be changes to how non-domiciled individuals will be treated. We know there will be changes and an introduction of a temporary repatriation facility, although there seems to be quite a lot of issues with the legislation. And we also know that despite the many protests from farmers and business owners up and down the country, we will see changes to agricultural property relief and business property relief from April 26. If you'd like any more information about the spring statement, please visit our Budget Hub